You know the feeling, right? That racing heart before a big meeting, the weight of a deadline, that to-do list that just never seems to end. We call it stress. And for most of us, it feels like the enemy. But what if that's all wrong? What if we've been looking at stress completely backward? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the science of stress and give you a whole new way to think about it. And more importantly, how to handle it.
So let's just start with this one kind of radical idea. What if not all stress is bad for you? What if some of it is actually good, even essential for you to perform at your best? Seriously, just getting this one distinction can completely change the way you look at every challenge you face. To get our heads around this, we have to realize that stress isn't just one big bad thing. It's more like a spectrum. You could even say it has two very different faces. Okay, so on the left, you've got what scientists call eustress, and you can just think of this as good stress. This is the stuff that gets you going, that focuses your energy, that actually feels exciting. It's that buzz you get before a game or when you're about to crack a tough problem. It makes you better. But on the right, you've got its evil twin, distress. This is the one we all know and hate. It's the one that makes you anxious, feels totally overwhelming, and just tanks your performance. Now, here's the most important part. The difference isn't the situation itself. It's all about whether you believe you can handle it. If you think you've got this, it's eustress. If you feel like you're in over your head, it turns into distress. So what's actually going on inside our bodies when we feel all this pressure? Well, the guy who pioneered stress research, Hans Selye, he had a great way of describing it. He said to think of it like a little play unfolding inside your body in 3 acts. Act 1 is the alarm. Your brain sees a threat. Could be a car swerving, could be a critical email from your boss, and boom, your body's alarm system goes off. It floods you with adrenaline. That's your classic fight or flight kicking in. Now, if that stressful thing sticks around, we move into Act 2, resistance. Here, your body is scrambling to adapt and cope. It's basically running on overtime, burning through fuel to keep you on high alert. But it can't do that forever. If the pressure just doesn't let up, you hit the finale, Act 3, exhaustion. At this point, your internal batteries are completely drained. You're left wide open to burnout, sickness, and all sorts of chronic problems. Okay, so that's the biology. We get the chain reaction. But what's actually flipping that switch in our modern lives? What are the big things that are pushing our buttons? Well, research points to 7 major culprits. You've got the really practical stuff, right? Money worries, work, just not having enough time. Then it gets really personal. Our health, our relationships, our family drama, and of course, the really profound, heavy life events like losing someone you love. But here's the kicker. They rarely stay in their own lane, do they? Financial stress leaks into your relationship, which then starts to affect your health. It's all connected in this big, complicated web. So if these are the things stressing us all out, it begs the question, who's feeling it the most? Does it hit certain people harder, maybe based on age or gender? You might be surprised by what the data actually shows. So back in 2010, some researchers in South Florida decided to investigate this. They surveyed almost 300 workers and basically split them into 2 camps, folks who were 25 and under and everyone 26 and older. They wanted to see if the younger generation was really more stressed out. And the results? Well, they were not what most people would expect. The researchers thought for sure the younger group would report higher stress levels. But nope. Turns out there was no real difference between the groups at all. Whether you are fresh out of college or a seasoned veteran, the level of stress people felt was pretty much the same. All right, so if age isn't the deciding factor, what about gender? The study took another look at the numbers, this time comparing the stress scores from the men and women in the survey. What do you think they found? And you guessed it, same story. Again, no significant difference. Men and women were feeling the pressure at pretty much the same rate. And the big takeaway from all this is powerful. Stress doesn't discriminate. It's a universal human experience. It gets all of us. Okay, so if we know we can't escape stress, that it's part of the deal of being human, then what do we do? Well, the secret isn't about avoiding it. It's about getting way smarter and more intentional about how we respond to it. It's about choosing how to cope instead of just reacting. This right here is basically your strategic playbook. It gives you 3 main ways to go. First, if you're dealing with a problem you can actually do something about, you go with an action-oriented approach. You face it head-on. But for those things you just can't change, you switch gears. You use an emotion-oriented style, where the goal is to change how you see the situation. And finally, for things that are already over and done with, you bring in the acceptance-oriented approach. That's all about processing what happened so you can actually move on. So now that we have the overall strategy, let's get even more practical. Let's stock our toolkit with 8 solid principles you can use to really take control. Think of this as your go-to checklist for building resilience. It starts with the absolute fundamentals. Take care of your body and actually check in with yourself to see how you're doing. Then we get into the mental game, celebrating your wins, even the small ones, and focusing on just one thing at a time. And this one's my favorite. Learn to take things a little less seriously sometimes. But, and this is so important, it's not a solo mission. The list reminds us to help other people and to talk about what's going on. And that last one, number 8, that brings us right back to where we started, knowing the difference between a threat and a challenge. That's how you turn that bad stress into the good kind.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple, profound idea from the man who literally wrote the book on stress, Hans Selye. The stuff happening out there in the world, that's just life. What truly matters, what defines our health and our happiness, is how we choose to react to it. So there you have it. We've gone through the science, looked at the real data, and laid out a whole set of strategies and tools. The power to change your relationship with stress is literally in your hands. So the only real question left is, the next time you feel that pressure start to build, what's the first tool you're going to reach for?